Did you know that calling Mary by the title Mother of God almost tore the church apart? It's part of our early history. There were many members of the church who said, "Oh, she's definitely the mother of Christ. Call her the mother of Christ." But the mother of God? That makes her sound like she existed before God did. And that's not okay, said those people. So it really tore the church, because the people who were for calling her that said, but if you just make her the mother of Christ, it makes it sound like Christ and God are different, but they share the same nature. But the first people protested about how uncomfortable it was to say that she could be God's mother. So for about 100 years, there was a break in the church that got sealed after a long period of healing and talking it through. So it's good for us to know that, I think, because it helps us to understand how radical it is to call Jesus' mother the Mother of God. How could a human hold that title? Only God could allow it. So then the question comes, how does a person get chosen to be the mother of God? What application process would someone go through? Who else was being considered besides Mary? I think a better way to answer the question of how was she chosen is to look at the reason she was not chosen. What are the things that could not have been criteria because they would never have worked? Looking at those gives us a chance to see why she was chosen. She was not chosen because of her ambition. We know that she was not seeking to be the mother of God. When I was a teacher, a lot of times, especially because one of the schools I taught in was rather large, sometimes a fellow teacher would tell the faculty, just so you know, I've decided to go back and get a master's degree in administration. I'm hoping to become a principal one day. And a lot of times, we would scratch our heads and say, why would that person want to be a principal? They're the last person who should do that job. Why are they looking to be an administrator? That's not going to work out. But doesn't it seem like in a lot of careers that's what happens? The ones who want to rise are the ones that might not be the people for the job. It happens in the priesthood too. Maybe you've known of priests who weren't very satisfied being priests. That wasn't enough. They really wanted to be bishops. And of course, as the job of bishop is so difficult, involves so much responsibility, a lot of other priests joke about how challenging that job is. And they say, anybody who wants that job deserves it. Ambition is not always the thing that makes us the most qualified for something. A lot of times people with ambition might have this unbridled ambition that doesn't come from the best source. So Mary was not one of those people. She was not seeking this. And when it came, she wasn't sure even what it was. Those who are often seeking high places, high lofty titles, they're often not the ones you would want. Another thing that was not a criterion for Mary to be chosen would be having special skills or knowledge about how to do this. She had none of those. She was a woman of her time, an uneducated woman with no status in her society. Based on what we know about women in her area of the world at the time, it is doubtful that she knew how to read or write. And she had no special gifts for this, except for the one that she received at her Immaculate Conception. We believe that she was given special grace at the time of her own conception, 9 months before her birth. But she didn't know that, nor did anyone else. So that was not something that she could just pull out of her back pocket whenever she wanted. She had no idea that that gift had been given to her. Another thing that was not a reason to choose her was because she had a very fixed idea of how this was going to work. Mary did not know at all what was going to happen. And she had to accept each moment of the journey. And imagine if she had expected what it might be like to be the mother of God, how her expectation might not have matched the reality. I mean, imagine somebody being told, you're going to be the mother of God, then finding out that her husband has to go on a business trip to Bethlehem and that she needs to go. Now, if you're going to be the mother of God, wouldn't you just assume, how are we going to get there? I assume they'll send a car. No. 9 months pregnant, riding bareback on a donkey. Yet none of those things were a deal breaker for her. She didn't allow a single thing to be a deal breaker. She didn't say, well, this, absolutely not. I'm out of this because this is not the way it ought to be. I mean, if you're going to ask me to do this job, at least equip me. So we recognize that all of these qualities that she has, not having ambition, not being especially skilled or talented for the role, not having expectations of what it would be like, they are what made her a perfect choice. Because what was the magical, wonderful ingredient that she had? Unflinching trust. That is what made her a worthy candidate for Mother of God. She trusted. We know her response to the angel. She said, if this is a plan of God, then sign me up, because I'm a servant of God. But we also know that the angel didn't tell her, here's how this is going to go. The angel did not say that. The angel just gave her the first step, told her that she would be with child and that she was to name him Jesus and that he would save people from their sins. She didn't have to say yes immediately to all of it, only the first step. They say that faith is like shining a flashlight in the forest. When you're in the forest, a flashlight does not light up the whole path. It lights up just a few steps in front of you. So you shine the light, you walk as far as it illuminates, and then when you get there, you can see just a little farther. And that's how we make our way through life as people of faith, step by step. We know that when we get further, we'll know more. But we have to trust that that'll always be true, because there's times that dark forest is filled with sounds that terrify us, or we're feeling so weary, we're not sure if we can keep going. It seems to me that one of the reasons why God chose Mary to be the mother of God is because of all of the things that she lacked. The lack that she had gave her room to contain more that God would give her. She didn't have a ton of skills. She didn't have ambition. She didn't have special talents for this. She didn't have a strong plan for how it would go. In fact, if a talent scout was recruited to try to find someone appropriate for this job, she may have been their last choice. But then, that just goes to show that Jesus meant what he said. The last shall be first.